Have you ever wished you could just, I don't know, download knowledge directly into your brain? Well, today we're going to dive into a scientifically backed method that's pretty darn close. We're talking about a way to turn anything you want to know into something you'll never forget. Let's get into how to make learning stick for good. You know the feeling, right? You spend a whole hour learning something, names, a new language, important facts for a meeting, and the next day, poof, it feels like half of it just vanished. It's a super common frustration, but here's the good news. It's not your fault. It's actually how our memory is designed to work, and we can totally learn to work with it instead of against it. So, to figure out how to remember, we first have to understand why we forget in the first place. And it all boils down to this one big idea discovered over 100 years ago that perfectly explains that leaky bucket problem. Yeah, way back in 1885, this psychologist, Hermann Ebbinghaus, he literally mapped it out. He called it the forgetting curve, and it shows this steep, dramatic drop-off in our memory of new information. I mean, it just plummets within days if we don't do anything to reinforce it. But here's the incredible twist. This isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's our brain's brilliant filtering system designed to toss out all the junk it thinks is unimportant. So our job is simply to tell our brain what actually is important. Okay, so how do we send that, hey, this is important, signal to our brain? It's actually pretty simple. You use the brain's own rules for learning. The method we're looking at today is built on decades of cognitive science. Let's pop the hood and see how this engine really works. The first big principle is called spaced repetition. And honestly, this is the perfect weapon against that forgetting curve. Instead of cramming, you review information at the exact moment your brain is just about to let it slip away. And every time you do that, it's like you're telling your brain, nope, keep this one. The memory gets stronger, and the time until you need to see it again gets longer and longer, stretching from days to weeks, and eventually to years. All right, next up we have the interleaving method, and I'll be honest, this one feels totally wrong at first. All our lives we're told to study one topic at a time, in blocks. Interleaving says, nope, do the opposite. Mix it all up. Study a little Spanish vocabulary, then a history date, then a quick chemistry formula, all in the same little session. So why on earth would that chaos actually work better? Well, it's because that traditional block studying creates what scientists call an illusion of learning. It feels really easy and productive, but that's just your short-term memory doing all the work. Interleaving, on the other hand, it feels a little harder. And that's because it forces your brain to dig deep and pull that information out from scratch every single time. And it turns out that little bit of a struggle is exactly what forges strong, durable, long-term memories. So how much of a difference are we talking about here? The research is just crystal clear on this. Using spaced repetition can lead to 2 to 3 times better retention than just cramming everything at once. That's not a small improvement, that is a complete game changer. And it's the same deal with actively trying to remember something. This simple act of testing yourself, even if you struggle for the answer, is way more powerful than just passively rewriting your notes. Studies show you retain about 50% more material that way. That's huge. This whole process is called retrieval practice. And here's what I really want you to take away. That feeling of effort, when you're struggling to pull a fact out of the back of your mind, that isn't you failing. That productive struggle is the learning happening. It's like a bicep curl for your brain, and it's what makes those neural connections stronger. And finally, the last piece of the science puzzle is something called elaborative encoding. This is all about making information mean something to you. Let's face it, dry data is boring, and it just doesn't stick. But when you connect a new fact to something you already know, a silly image, a personal story, a funny memory, you're giving your brain all these extra hooks to grab onto later. The app calls these little hooks anchors. Okay, so that's all the science, the why behind it. But the goal here isn't to spend more time studying, it's to make the time you do spend incredibly powerful and efficient. So what does this actually look like in real life? Well, it all comes down to a super simple 5-minute daily habit. So what does this look like day to day? It's a really simple 5-step loop. First, you add new information right when you learn it, when it's fresh in your mind. Second, you do a quick daily review. Yep, just 5 minutes is way more powerful than an hour-long cram session. Third, as you review, you honestly rate how well you remembered it. That tells the app's algorithm exactly when to show it to you again. Fourth, you always review everything mixed together. That way you get that amazing interleaving effect. And finally, you spend a second to create those personal, vivid anchors to really make the memory stick for good. So, to make this whole process completely effortless, the app is built around a few really smart tools. Each one is designed to do the heavy lifting of all these sciencey principles for you. For example, to help with that whole elaborative encoding thing we talked about, there's a feature called anchor coaching. It actually gives you little prompts and ideas to help you create those super effective personal memory hooks that make info almost impossible to forget. And to make getting started a total breeze, you can use bulk import. You can literally just paste an entire vocabulary list or a bunch of notes from a book, and boom, it turns them all into review cards in just a few seconds. And this is a big one for making sure you stick with it. You can set session limits. This makes sure your 5-minute review actually stays 5 minutes, so you never feel overwhelmed and you can stay consistent day after day. And this is so important. You are always in complete control. You can export your entire library, all your notes, all your history anytime you want, because at the end of the day, it's your knowledge. It belongs to you. And that brings us to one last, absolutely crucial point, especially in today's world: privacy. The whole philosophy here is that your thoughts, your knowledge, your learning process, it's all yours and yours alone. The promise on this is about as direct and clear as it gets. We will never track your data, ever. In a world where all our data is constantly being bought and sold, that is a really powerful statement. It puts your privacy first, period. And here's exactly how that promise is kept. First, everything is 100% on your device. Your data never touches a server. You don't need to create an account or give any personal info. There are 0 analytics trackers watching what you do. And of course, there are absolutely no ads. The app is just built to help you learn. That's it. So when you put it all together, the space repetition, the interleaving, the retrieval practice, all wrapped up in a simple daily habit, you can finally stop fighting that forgetting curve and start building a permanent library of knowledge right inside your own mind. The only question left is, what will you remember?